My name is Marion Nicole Teo. Just a little bit about myself. I have been training for the last, a number of years. I started back in 1987 when I was an undergraduate in the National University of Singapore. I started training people in terms of professional image, topics like business etiquette and networking, communication, and I really found that this was something that I was passionate about. I totally enjoyed training people, and even though I was doing biochemistry at that time, I decided that when I graduated, I would not stay in the science or the research field. All right, so that kind of got me down in the path of training, and I joined a company called the Service Quality Center, where I started teaching people in areas of communication and customer service. About 2 years into that job, I discovered something about myself, and that was number one, I don't like working a 9-to-5 job, and number two, I don't like having a boss. For me, it was really important to have my freedom, to be able to train the topics that I like. I set up my training company, and I've been training ever since. So other than the universities, I also do train companies. I'm also a corporate coach where we train people in not just areas like communication, etiquette, networking, and professional image. We also teach them areas like customer service, emotional intelligence, and resilience. Okay, so our topic today is on business networking and professional etiquette. Just as an introduction, again, remember that it's about how you go about meeting people for the first time and ensuring that you are able to follow the right protocol so that you can build rapport with people, make a good first impression, and that people can see the positive side. We want to remember that this statement tells us you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So it is so important that you ensure that when you meet people for the first time, you do your best to come across professionally, that people look at you as friendly, as approachable, as able to interact, and they want to spend more time talking to you. But what research has shown is that it only takes about 10 seconds for people to form an opinion about you. So what are they looking at? We have what we call our first 10 movements, our first few words that you say, maybe first 10 words, your top 10 factors, how they see you visually, your bottom 10 factors, because they look at you from top to bottom, and of course, your last few seconds of interaction. Remember, we did a poll and we asked you which one makes the greater impact, movements or words. So let's see the results of the poll. And you're so very right. Non-verbal communication definitely makes the greater impact compared to verbal communication. So how you act, how you dress, your behaviors, what you are showing physically, it makes a greater impact than what you say. That 55% of the communication actually comes from your visuals. Only 7% of the communication comes from your verbal, the actual words that you say. And the remaining 38% goes to the tone of voice or how you sound. So in terms of first impressions, remember, it's so important that you look the part. You have to look confident. You have to look professional. You need to be dressed well. Your body language needs to be positive, your gestures and your posture. But then, of course, people don't just focus on that. They are also going to then remember the words that you say. When you go for a networking session, whether it's a job interview, whether it's a business meeting, and you're meeting people for the first time, you really want to ensure that you give your good eye contact and you smile. It is considered to be confident, to be respectful, to be friendly and approachable. Another thing that we find when people meet you for the first time, majority of us tend to forget one another's names. So research has actually shown that 60% of us forget names in the first 10 seconds of interaction. So can you remember my name? Yeah. So when you introduce yourself, ladies and gentlemen, this is your brand. This is who you are. So it's so important that the way you say your name comes across confidently and that people don't forget it. So, for example, I could meet you and go, "Good morning. My name is Marion Teo, but you can call me Marion." So in the first few seconds, you've heard my name twice. So hopefully you won't forget it so easily. Introducing your name is so important, but most of us at the same time tend to be shaking hands. The thing with the handshake is that it's body language. And remember, 55% of the communication goes to body language or non-verbal communication, and only 7% goes to the words that you say. And so this is why we don't remember names, but we will remember the handshake. So, ladies and gentlemen, you need to give a professional, firm handshake. Some people give bone-crushing handshakes. Generally, we find that between two men, the handshake tends to be a lot stronger. Between two women, we tend to notice that the handshakes can be slightly lighter, especially if they're on lower positions in business. But when they're of higher positions, to show a bit more power, the woman might give a slightly stronger handshake. But when it's between a man and a woman, there is a slight difference. There's this concept where you mirror her strength. If she gives you a strong handshake, gentlemen, you give back a similar strong handshake. If she gives you a lighter handshake, you give her back a lighter handshake. So ladies, can I just give you a word of advice? Please don't offer your fingers and shake fingers with someone. It's excessively rude. Ensure it's a full grasp of a handshake. Keep it short and sweet. 3 pumps is sufficient. 1, 2, 3, let go. If they don't let go of your hands, then, well, say, hey, shall we exchange name cards? We have found that in Asian etiquette, not everybody likes to be called by first name. Many times I do meet people where they prefer that you use their title. So again here, remember that when you repeat the person's name, you remember it better. Now, if you still can't remember their name, there's always the option of exchanging name cards. All right, so important that you use 2 hands to give and you use 2 hands to receive. I do find that in the past, people give name cards. Like if I give you mine, you're expected to give me yours. And if you don't have a name card, you then say, I can see your email addresses on the name card. Can I drop you an email because I don't have my name cards with me? But we do find that nowadays, for convenience and of course with technology, a lot of people don't really exchange name cards. What they do immediately is they may go onto LinkedIn and just say, okay, shall we connect on LinkedIn? And then you drop them a message, or immediately they give each other missed calls on the phone and then type each other's names in. So name cards are slowly becoming redundant in networking sessions, but you have that choice if you still want to keep one. So ladies and gentlemen, what I do want to mention here, protocol usually takes about 30 seconds to do. Tell my name, to exchange name cards, exchange handshakes, and then comes the opening line. And we do find many times people get stuck here. So we have standard opening lines. Have you eaten? The other person might say, yes, I have. And then there's silence. Or somebody might say, how are you? And the other person goes, oh, I'm fine, thank you. And how are you? Okay, good. And then there's silence again, right? Or maybe they'll just make a statement like, how do you do? And how do you do? And then they don't really know what to say. I'm going to introduce this noble model to y'all, which is NOBLE. So the art of two-way communication is really about knowing how to start the conversation. We find that having an opening line just kind of sets the tone a little bit, but what you could try to do is to notice things around you. Look at the situation, look at the surroundings, look at the other person, think about what's going on with yourself, so notice things. Okay, so over here we're looking at how to create small talk. Now we do find that most of the time people start by asking questions. Asking questions is always good, but what happens is if you don't ask the right kind of questions, people tend to give you one-word answers. Some people don't really feel so comfortable, especially if they're more introverted, to just answer all your questions. So it is important for you to once in a while give your opinion or state facts. So this is called small talk. So you want to ensure that you talk about things that are more general, things that are not too sensitive, things that are not too personal. What we find is that a good way of starting the conversation is to state an opinion or a fact about the other person. And this way is to try using a compliment. I asked y'all to do a little poll. You could compliment each other by saying something about the way they dress. Like you could say, hey, this color looks really good on you. Or you could say, wow, I like the accessories that you have on. Or you could talk about their appearance. For example, you could say, wow, you're really tall. Or wow, you're very pretty. Or you could compliment their personality. It's been enjoyable talking to you, you smile a lot, you're really sincere and you're so friendly. So when it's a first time meeting, as an opening line, what did you all say? Let's look at the next slide. With any compliment that you give, ladies and gentlemen, it needs to be sincere. Don't say it because you want something in return. Don't say it because you want them to compliment you back. Talking about yourself shouldn't be the major topic. Yes, you can share a bit about yourself, but find out about the other person also. So this is where open questions are so important. Again, you can recall that I said, if you ask questions like, is this your first time here? Are you going to eat? These are all closed-ended questions where you get yes or no. And when you get one-word answers, it really isn't helping the conversation. What are open questions? Right, so as you know, open questions start with the 5 W's and 1 H. This is something that's so common that you all definitely know about. Like you could talk about hobbies, you could talk about current affairs, you could talk about movies, something that you've watched, you can talk about food, and food is one of the favorite things here in Singapore. As you talk to a person, you really want to be able to clarify by asking the right kind of questions. You also want to be able to repeat back what they've said. Don't allow yourself to bombard someone with too many questions. So this is where we talk about the noble model, where we go into the next part, which is B. All right, so N was notice, O was ask open questions, and build on their responses. Don't change from topic to topic, but you really want to be able to go into a little bit more depth. And maybe if that topic is getting a bit sensitive or getting a bit too personal, then you might want to consider going into changing the topic subtly and be able to bring in something that would still keep the other person interested. And so we've got some advice that I asked you to poll. All right, so let's look at small talk. There's a lot of different advice there, and just let's see how you polled it. Okay, so very good. Put in its order. I'm sure all of you are also interested to see. Be a good listener. I so totally agree with that. Which is the L in the noble model. It's more important than what you say. Keep the questions general. Don't ask anything too personal or sensitive. Be sensitive to signals sent out by others. So we will be talking about body language later. This is really to be aware of what the other person is to you non-verbally and what you might be saying to them. When you network, the easiest thing to do is approach an individual. So smile at them, make eye contact with them. If they smile back at you, walk up towards them and introduce yourself, right? But if they look at their phone, they don't smile at you, they turn away, well, you know what? Just turn away and walk off and go to someone else. Don't take it as a rejection. Look at it as maybe this person is just not ready to talk at this point. So you can come back to them later. But of course, you do know that sometimes you go in for networking and you can't find an individual. So you have to join a group. If you join a group of 2 people or 3 people or 4 people, not easy, but definitely doable. You might want to be able to come in and blend in with their conversation and include other people in the group. So if I approach a group, maybe I'll stand by the side of them, kind of listen to what they're saying. And then if it's a topic that I'm interested in, when there's a pause or a break, I might then say, hi, everyone. I heard you talking about whatever the topic is. Can I join you? Or that's really interesting, right? And I'll come in and I'll introduce myself. And as much as possible, I'll try not to take over the conversation. And as I talk, I want to make sure that I'm looking at everybody in the group. And then as they ask me questions or as they start sharing, I'm also looking at everyone. Where sometimes people make a mistake is that they target one person in the group. So for example, if I suddenly join in the group and now one of the other persons just talks to me directly, the other members who are standing there start to feel excluded. And that's not good. Yeah, and if you've got nothing to say, that's also fine. Just make sounds like you're listening. Yeah, oh, that's good. Interesting. I like what you just said. So add in these little bits to the conversation so that people recognize that you're listening. Thank you. Now,
Okay.
listening was something that y'all listed in the top 5, so very good. Listen actively. Silence is golden. Sometimes we have to remember to listen more than talk. And I remember growing up, my father always saying to me, Marion, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So listen more, talk less. So some people are fakers, they say, yeah, okay, but they've checked out. So they're physically there, but mentally they've gone somewhere else. All right, so thank you. What is not a way to be a better listener? Share your story to show you understand. Yes, this is what we call a hostile takeover. A person starts talking to you and they go, oh, I want to share with you, I was so stressed out last week and this happened and that happened. And then you say something like, you call that stress? Wait till you hear my story and then you take over, right? So that's not really being empathic. Face the speaker, nod your head, lean towards them. Excellent, that's good advice. Repeat or rephrase. So for example, say, yes, I understand that it must have been so challenging for you. I mean, I know why you're so stressed out. Okay, so you rephrase them or ask questions. So what's making you feel stressed? Why are you frustrated? So ask some questions. And then, of course, I found this so beautiful. For those who don't speak Mandarin or don't recognize it, this is the old form. The breakup of all the different characters represent all these different words. So if you think about the holistic approach, don't just use your ears. Treat the person who's talking to you as a king. All right, they're the most important person to you now. Connect with your heart and hear how are they feeling. If they're happy, smile with them and be happy for them. If they're feeling sad, don't smile so much. Nod. Give them a bit more eye contact. Right? Focus on them. Put aside your handphone. Don't be distracted. Use your eyes to see what's going on in their body. Right? So the holistic approach. So to me, this is so powerful. So the next part that we have is to expand the topic, being able to change to a relevant topic, right? So sounds to encourage them. As I mentioned, you could say, I see, I understand. Tell me more about that. Oh, I'd love to hear what you think about this or that. And so it's so important to just keep expanding on the topic to ensure that it's a two-way conversation. Some of you may find that, wow, this conversation's going on in the networking and I'm not enjoying it, or this is not relevant to me, or you know what, I think I need to move. So it's okay, right, ladies and gentlemen, in networking, people understand that people have to move around and meet other people, right? So there is a way to acknowledge at the end and leave the group. So for example, you could say, hey friends, I love what you guys were talking about. It was really nice talking to you. There's somebody over there that I see that I'd like to talk to. So let's keep in touch maybe over LinkedIn or over email or in WhatsApp. I look forward to future deals with you. So, there's many ways that you can acknowledge it at the end. So again, remember, ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to wait till everybody's finished their conversation to say goodbye. If you have to leave halfway, it's okay, but do it politely. Mention certain things that you shouldn't do, like being too negative. Don't interrupt, listen properly. Don't talk too much about yourself. I did talk about using humor, but don't try to be funny all the time. Right, so these ones I believe you can read for yourself. I do have one issue about excessive flattery. I think we talked about complimenting, be sincere, but don't overdo it. In terms of endearment, the bottom left-hand column, that's like, using the word, how are you, honey? How are you, darling? It's so unprofessional. So 55% goes to non-verbals. Okay, so you want to make sure that for us as ladies, wear a little bit of makeup. Ladies and gentlemen, have your hairstyle, your hair neatly done. Gentlemen, be clean shaven. Style yourself a little bit. Okay, but let's go back to giving you some examples of positive and negative body language. We've covered a few of them, and I would love to have you do this with me. I know you might be sitting down, but perhaps the upright posture is the first thing that I can ask all of you to start with. Can I ask you to sit up straight, shoulders back, tummy in, back straight. Now, whether you're sitting or if you choose to stand up, it is so important that you have a good way of breathing. When you're able to stand tall, back straight, tummy in, and you're breathing a lot deeper, you then can slow down. You're going to feel more grounded. You're going to feel more confident. And when you feel these ways, this is what people are going to see. So then you would smile, you would give eye contact. When you're listening, you would nod your head. When you want to show something, you could use an open palm gesture, telling a person to go this way. You could use your open palm gesture. And this is definitely positive in terms of examples. On the other hand, in the other column on the right-hand side, we have negative examples. Grumpy looking, you frown, you can see the eyebrow area is very tight, you're not smiling, you're grouchy looking. That's going to make people think that you're moody, that you're not happy, that they said something that was offensive. So watch out for that. If you look like you are staring at them, then it's not respectful. The other thing is Asian etiquette. Hierarchy is very important. So you have to show respect to people who are older than you and people who are more senior than you in position. So don't give them direct eye contact. You lower your gaze a little bit. Generally, we find that most people think this is hands crossed at your chest is negative. It's defensive. It looks close. It looks unfriendly. But do take note, ladies and gentlemen, that it is very common nowadays to see people put their hands in front of them when they're paying attention, to show that they're listening, to show that they are with you, to show that they're not distracted. All right, so we talked about verbal communication, introducing the noble model. Prior to that, we talked about first impressions and protocol when you first meet someone, introducing your name in full, giving good handshakes, repeating their name, exchanging name cards. All right, and then now, of course, we're looking at non-verbals because dressing is important, but actions are also important. All right, all the things that we're talking about here under the 10 Commandments are things that only you can control your own behaviors. We can't control somebody else's behavior, so don't get too worried if they don't follow the protocol. At the end of the day, we want to learn what's going to make us look good in terms of looking professional, looking credible, looking trustworthy, looking likable, looking pleasant. I've given you a lot of tips to do the things in a way that's going to be respectful for others, by people criticizing or saying that you're being too formal, or you can't control other people's behaviors. You can influence them though by you showing up in a good example. Maybe you could teach them how they could be the next time and they can mirror your behaviors. So don't worry about what they say. No matter how good we try to be, there's always going to be criticisms. There's always going to be negativity. So don't let it affect you. Just do your best. And that's all anyone can ask for. And to me, that's the last 2 points here, your attitude and your self-esteem. All right, we didn't talk about clothes today. We talked a lot about body language, speaking ability, good manners, etiquette. We didn't talk about hygiene or health, but these are things that are important. At the end of the day, just be confident about yourself. You're going to make mistakes. It's okay. Just be open to learning. Have an attitude of, hey, I'm so sorry. I did not mean for it to come out this way. Can you teach me what could I have done better the next time? People will be willing to teach you the protocol or the cultural expectation. And self-esteem, don't get affected by the negativity. Just say, yeah, thanks for the feedback. Thank you for sharing that with me. Don't be conscious of yourself, be confident of yourself. And I think at the end of the day, that's really what counts. I would say be the best version of yourself. That's all any of us can ask for. You don't have to be better than me. I don't have to be better than you. Just be better than me from yesterday. So I have to be the best version of myself. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, my websites are there where you can go to my company, eqasia.com, and see some of the programs that we do, or MarionNicoleTeo.com. That's my personal blog. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for participating in the program. I hope you've enjoyed this webinar on networking and business etiquette, and have learned a tip or two to be able to apply these to your daily life. Now, we've rebranded our company from EQ Asia to EQ World, and we still offer training and coaching programs for anyone who's interested in inner transformation to become the best version of themselves. If you want to find out more, please go to our website at www.eqworld.com or drop us an email. And you can find out more about the training or coaching that we do on topics like emotional intelligence, resilience, the Enneagram personality, and so much more. On the other hand, if you're interested in being a coach or a trainer and you want to be certified in these programs, do let us know, because we also offer certification programs. Now, be one of the first 100 people to drop us an email, and you will receive a free ebook from me called Beauty from the Inside Out: 7 Ways to Achieve a Leading Image. I really hope to see you soon. Bye.